What's up guys, Rui here and welcome back to the channel. I feel like at this point I have a rather love-hate relationship when it comes to fashion. On one end, I really love how it's able to make one feel. As someone who isn't the most confident person out there, on days when I know I put together a sick outfit, it just makes everything feel so much better. And I think for the most part, that's why I really love fashion to begin with. However, on the other hand, the current fashion scene can really start to consume one's life even without us noticing until much later. Whether it be keeping up with the latest news or trends, if you are into it, then you know that there's just so much things going on in the fashion scene. Almost every week there are new collection drops, collabs, new releases, and everything else in between. And I'm pretty sure we all have been in a situation whereby we get so fixated with all things fashion related, caring about what people are wearing or what should you buy, that we tend to forget there's actually a lot more to life than just clothes. Furthermore, it doesn't help much when oftentimes we are made to feel the need to purchase all these pieces in order to be part of the fashion circle, which in most times isn't really the case. That's why in today's video, I just want to sit down and talk about some of the things that I've learned and come to realize along all the years that I've been into fashion that really has helped me to live a much simpler fashion lifestyle by removing all the external noises and for the most part staying away and not being too caught up from the fashion rat race. Now this might sound very condescending coming from someone who literally makes fashion related content, but it's because I do, that's why I feel the need to start a conversation regarding this topic, as I personally experience how fashion can negatively affect someone. Please understand that this video is not meant to put anyone down, nor am I telling you how you should live your life. We're all grown-ups here, so live however you want and spend your hard-earned money as you please. But if you do find yourself currently having a really unhealthy relationship with fashion, then hopefully this video is something for you. This video turns out to be much longer than expected, so grab a drink and get comfortable because there's a lot to unpack here. But before we continue to further into today's video, it would be very much appreciated if you go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below if you are new to the channel or just haven't been subscribed yet, as it really does help me out a long way. Also, if you guys are feeling generous and want to help support the channel in a much bigger way, I do have a Patreon page whereby at this lowest tier, it is only $1 a month. And all of it will go into me to pick up new filming equipment so that I can continue to improve the qualities of the videos for y'all, as well as helping to keep the lights on this channel. Fashion in general is a pretty powerful motivator, and it's pretty insane to think how clothes can have such a strong influence over an individual. But what is it that makes us so obsessed with it? And I think to answer this question, we first need to understand the value of clothes first and foremost. There is a logical way of thinking in the sense we take a look at its material, craftsmanship, and overall finishing to determine what an item is worth. Generally, you would be more inclined to purchase something if it's a higher quality product. This is a very logical way of thinking, but let's be honest, if this is the only case, the fashion industry would not be worth billions to even trillions of dollars like it is today. Oftentimes, we tend to purchase a particular piece because of how it resonates with us emotionally, and this can come from its design, silhouette, features, but mainly brand name and association is probably one of the biggest factors as to why a certain piece carries a much higher value. And I personally feel that celebrity and pop culture plays a huge contributor towards this. Celebrities have always been looked at as this icon that many do idolize and inspire to be. Due to this, they've always been a strong influence into getting the consumers to purchase a particular product. Psychologically, I think there's this cool factor in knowing that you have the same clothing piece as your favorite celebrity that makes us feel closer or even apart with them. That is why when we see famous celebrities like Travis Scott wearing something in particular, all of a sudden everyone is kind of just hopping onto it as well. This all plays a role in allowing certain pieces to have a much more inflated value than what it truly is. In many ways, the resale market is literally built upon this idea. Hype and sought after pieces can have an increase in price of over 100%, as people are willing to pay a significant price markup to feel a sense of inclusivity by owning the piece. However, with the introduction of social media, it brought celebrity culture down to the general public. You now have regular individuals becoming fashion influencers who are basically celebrities themselves, given the amount of attention and following that they are able to amass due to their strong social media presence. Whether we like it or not, it's tough to argue that being an influencer does seem pretty enticing for many. After all, who does not like a little fame and attention? Pair this up with the fact that almost any individual with a smartphone could potentially achieve. This created a fashion circle that a lot of people are trying to enter and be a part of. Now, I'm not saying that everyone on social media is trying to achieve these things, but it doesn't take too long to realize that it is a very common thing, especially within the fashion industry. All of a sudden, the focus of fashion has turned from wearing what I like into what is the latest hype thing that I need to wear in order to get attention. In many ways, fashion has turned into some sort of social currency, whereby clothes were being looked more as items that will help to achieve certain status. It really feels like how back in high school you want to hang out with the cool kids, hence you try to look and act a certain way in order to be part of them. Furthermore, when we receive likes on our posts, we get this temporary spike in dopamine, which is basically a chemical release in our brain that gives us this sense of pleasure. And all of this kind of feeds into the dopamine addiction. The more likes and engagements that we receive, the more we are encouraged to do so in order to continue to sustain this good feeling. This creates a mutually beneficial ecosystem, and that's the reason why it works so incredibly well. Brands gain a high amount of publicity and engagement, which translates to more sales figure, while us the consumers gain the attention that we want online. With all that being said, I'm not gonna be a hypocrite and say therefore social media is evil and we should all stay away from it. Inherently, there is nothing wrong in wanting to participate in all of this. In fact, I myself do engage social media in a very similar manner from time to time, and I am as much of a human being as any of you out there. Hence, I get it. It does feel good whenever I receive validation and attention online. However, I feel it is very important to understand why we do something so that we are aware of our actions. The decision on what to do with this information is up to you, but at least at the end of the day, you're not just a blind sheep following the herd. I say this because I myself have fallen guilty into all of this in the past. When I first got into fashion, I was so caught up in trying to get all the latest hype pieces because I thought that this would be my ticket to gain the validation of the fashion crowd. You see how there's something really wrong with this mentality because it always feels like there's this need to wear what I think other people would like. Plus, you will never truly be fulfilled because chasing after the hype thing never ends. It's like pouring water into an empty cup. No matter how much water you pour inside, it's still going to be empty at the end of the day. And the fact that I cannot keep up with it starts to create a lot of unnecessary stress within me. Just as much as I'm trying to get away from the rat race of life, I'm literally partaking in another, creating a false escapism. And thanks to this, I'm now forced to participate even more in the rat race of life in order to keep up with both worlds. The thing is, the fashion industry is totally aware of this social situation and they're not going to change much about it. In fact, they are actually doubling down. Put the creative talk aside for now, at the end of the day, we have to understand that this is still a money-making industry first and foremost. Hence, by giving those above more things to consume, it makes those that want to be a part of it feel the need to have it as well in order to fit in. And this constantly turns the cycle of consumerism even faster. Brands are releasing more collection drops than ever because there is a high demand for it. Which is why right now, even though my job primarily revolves around social media, I do try my very best to limit and be super aware as to what I'm consuming on it. This is why you probably don't see me much on other platforms besides YouTube or talking about the latest trends, because I really am not that in tune with what is going on besides following a few of my favorite brands. Now, while this sounds very limiting and counterintuitive as to what I do, the way I look at it, ignorance is bliss. I rather just not engage in that side of the fashion and stick within my lane. It really has helped me to simplify my life so much, and for the first time I don't feel the need to buy more clothes, and this has really helped me to prioritize more things outside of fashion. This feels really rewarding as I am actually building a much more healthier relationship with the clothes I have, because this gives me more time to actually appreciate and wear them instead of constantly buying new clothes and just keeping them in my closet. Plus, I am incredibly broke at the moment, so it would truly be very unhealthy of me to think that I need more clothes. Maybe in the future I will make another video kind of going through all the brands in my closet and explaining why I like them so much. Besides that, I think it's a much easier choice for me as well, because I truly do enjoy living a simpler life away from all the social media noise. Oftentimes, whenever I'm free, I would rather much spend my time playing video games or just chilling at home watching reruns of sitcoms. This might be a very selfish reason, but I enjoy social media because it has given me the opportunity to freely create stuff that's not bounded by what other people want me to do, and I mainly engage in it for that purpose. Fame and attention to me is just the byproduct if people like what I put out. Now, as much as it seems like I'm just painting social media to be this super negative space, it is still actually one of the best tools to have in your arsenal depending on how you utilize it. Like I mentioned in the past, if you are new to fashion or you're still discovering what you like, YouTube and Instagram is still one of the best sources that is highly accessible at the palm of your hands. There's a lot of creators out there that genuinely puts out content for their love in fashion, and they all provide useful information that kind of allows you to enjoy fashion in a more knowledge basis rather than just focusing on the consumerism side of things. While I still believe consuming less social media is still a great practice to do overall, I would say reevaluating how I value and look at clothes is the main reason why I'm able to come to peace with a much simpler fashion lifestyle. As a person who enjoys dressing up, I do value clothes much more than someone who isn't into fashion. And it's because of this I am willing to invest more into clothes. Now, whether or not that is worth it, it really depends on the individual, and there's no right or wrong answer here. In my opinion, if you are interested in fashion, there's nothing wrong in wanting to put in more time and resources in it. However, where the issue lies is when someone starts to overvalue clothes and put it as the top priority in their life. We've all heard stories whereby someone would spend an entire paycheck on a pair of sneakers, or worse yet, buying clothes through installment and even going in debt, all for the sake of wanting to be part of the fashion scene. Now, I'm not telling you what you should or should not do with your money, but understand that for the vast majority of us, unless fashion is truly the thing that puts food on the table for you or is part of your main job, it really doesn't matter if you have a certain piece or not. In fact, even then, I would argue and say that it doesn't matter because clothes should not be the thing that defines who you are as a person. And it more certainly should not be the only thing that you prioritize in your life. And trust me, I know this because I was in this exact position before. Buying clothes that you cannot afford is probably one of the silliest things that you could do to yourself because it truly doesn't add any benefit besides momentarily gratification and validation online. Like, is it truly worth it to spend half of your bank account on a piece just for a couple of hundred likes on Instagram? You can justify your purchase all you want, but at the end of the day, it really is just fabric and stitches. And if for whatever reason you're not able to get it, life still continues to go on, and you're not going to be any less of a person or less fashionable if you don't have that piece. Therefore, it's okay to miss a drop or two or three. Engage fashion at your own pace, and if you feel like this time around there are other things that you need to prioritize, then come back when the circumstances are better. I feel like it's truly unrealistic expectations to feel the need to pick up a piece or two every time there is a new drop. A lot of times we tend to buy things on impulse, and this may come from the fear of missing out. We fear that somehow by not picking this piece up, we may get left behind the fashion circle because it's going to be something that everyone will be wearing and talking about. Or we fear that we may regret not picking it up later down the line. Whatever the case is, it really is not that big of a deal. One tip that I could share, which is a practice that I do quite often, is if I'm debating whether to pick up a particular piece, I would just sleep on it and see how I feel the next morning when I wake up. Unless it is a real piece that I've been eyeing for a very long time, more oftentimes than not, I would say with confidence that I would not really care about it anymore. And if it's sold out by then, there really is nothing I can do anyway. I would much rather miss a drop and still have the money instead of potentially impulse buying a piece that later down the road I don't really care about. It's just clothes. There are always going to be new stuff coming up, and who knows, maybe later down I may be able to pick it up on the secondhand market for a much cheaper price. Finally, this last point is going to sound a little harsh to hear for some, but I'm just going to put it out there. For the vast majority of the time, nobody actually really cares what you're wearing out in real life. I could be wearing all my Arcanine pieces out, and guess what? I may get a glance or two, but in general, nobody cares. It's because everyone is just so busy going about their life, and the last thing that they would care about is what some stranger is wearing. This cycles back to my whole point of buy clothes if and only if you want to wear them. As long as it is culturally appropriate and is something that you can see yourself wearing out in public, I think that's really all that matters. Learn to have an opinion and preference of your own, and trust me, it makes consuming fashion so much simpler. That's all I have to share for today's video. I feel like by the end of this, you guys are just gonna think I'm some cranky old dude on the internet, but this is a topic that I've been wanting to cover for a pretty long while now. Again, this video is not meant to put anyone down. Enjoy fashion however you like, and I'm all about being able to meme shitty situations because I feel like at the end of the day we shouldn't take things too seriously. But if you really feel like this is an issue that you are having a hard time battling or coping with, then I would just highly advise you to please reevaluate the way you look at clothes. It really shouldn't be the center of your life, and it really shouldn't be something that consumes you as a whole. Enjoy fashion as what it is and nothing more. I hope you guys did enjoy this video, and if you did, please do consider to give it a thumbs up. And once again, if you guys are new to the channel or just haven't been subscribed yet, please do me a favor and hit the subscribe button down below, as it's these little things that really does help to push the channel out to more people. That's all I have for today's video. This video took way too long to record, and I'm so glad it's finally over and I can just chill for like 5 minutes before I start editing it. So that's all I have for today's video. Please do stay safe out there, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace out.